Good evening, actually, why am I always doing the intro? You can say something now for starters.
Hello, Patriots. That's how I'm gonna open my vlogs up. What do you guys think?
Yeah, comment in the description below, and that's the end of this video. No, actually, it came up to me that here in Robert's garage, the first time I was here is actually, beginning of this year, in February, when I came to Germany, and you had the 750, or was it 760?
Yeah, we had a 760, yeah.
Yeah, I came here.
Oh, no, not 760.
Yeah.
It was a 720, 730D or something like that.
730D, yeah. And he messaged to me like, yeah, I'm gonna bring it back to the dealership
You'll
tomorrow.
see the link below.
Yeah. Gonna bring it back to the dealership tomorrow because I don't like the car anymore. It's like, hold up. I'm driving now from Nürburg to your place, which is roughly 2-hour drive, because we need to make a review of this car. And that's what we did basically at night. So I had a kind of flashback. So on this anecdote, we're gonna start our new car show, talk show. I don't know, what's it gonna be? Just talking about cars, because
Just talking about cars.
Obviously you like us talking about cars, otherwise you wouldn't post all those nice comments in the previous video. So that's what we're gonna do today. We could, of course, talk about the X631, the LT Spider, but I mean, by now I'm at the video 240 almost of this year.
That's pretty cool.
That's pretty good. So I believe like those cars were subject of those videos at some point pretty often. So I guess you don't want to hear about those. So let's maybe talk something about the car news.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So one of the things that we kind of said but didn't confirm, but then said, but like, okay, well, this 50-minute long video that we did on the very last lap of the year, Robert said on 12th of December, McLaren gonna announce a car. Yep. 10th. You can always blame it on a margarita that Robert makes. Yep. On 10th of December, McLaren is going to announce a car or something I have a pre-order with, which is the P15, or by now they call it Senna. And for me personally, I kind of don't like to call it Senna. I still prefer the name P15, but it's a personal subjective reason. You can comment on that as well. And then you messaged me like, what, a couple of days ago that you canceled it?
Yeah, we just, yeah, it's an interesting car. I mean, if you look at it, I think it's an absolute, I don't want to say beautiful car. Nobody's going to say it's a beautiful car. Even McLaren themselves will say it's not a beautiful car. It's a very functional car. But I think that there's a lot of things at play with that car. If you're going to spec that car, you need to do it absolutely perfect. You really need to watch every cue, every angle. What I've noticed is that you need to spec it like a race car. You need to make it actually look like it has a true race car theme to it. Numbers, checkered flags, the whole thing. I'll send Misha a link of a picture that he can maybe put in here for you guys to see what is my favorite spec so far on the P15. But it goes back to how we use the cars. I mean, the reality is there was a long time that I knew that the P15 was going to be created, and I was really excited about it. I told Tiffany about it, I told Misha about it. I said, this is the car, I'm gonna get this car. This is gonna be my, probably I'll sell the orange LT for this thing. I don't care, whatever it takes to get it.
That's a very bold statement from a man who says the LT is probably his favorite.
And that was what I thought. If that's what it took to get, then that's what we would do. And I was very, very fortunate. We were at one of the races, and I was informed that we got selected to have a slot for it, which, like I said again, from McLaren, from Door Group, and the regional managers and everything, I'm very grateful that they did. Give me that opportunity.
Well, in all honesty, you have a pretty impressive collection, but you don't have any hypercars from McLaren.
No, I don't.
So how does the selection process go, actually?
I mean, they do it based on a lot of factors. Are you loyal to the brand? Are you going to probably use the car? Do you have other cars that you use or are you looking just like a collector? I think they want to make sure that it's going to end up in good people's hands that want to use the car. And so for me, that was also a hard thing to say. Okay, guys, thank you for the offer, but I'm not going to do it, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to continue with McLaren. I think at the end of the day, if you look at the LT, the orange car anyways, this car has 3,200 kilometers on it, and that's honestly driving it back from Belgium when they did a full wrap on it, which you guys might have seen that video. It's absolutely still today, absolutely beautiful work that Waxit did on this car. But this car has 3,200 kilometers on it. I don't know, 600 or so are driving it back from Belgium. Another 1,000 are when we drove it up to the spring event. And then I drove it 2 or 3 times back and forth to Nürburgring, and that's actually all that I've used it. I've probably actually driven this car a handful of times. And but on the other hand, with the LT, we all know that it has over 700 laps. I don't even know, probably about 750 laps itself on the Nordschleife.
Probably this year alone, maybe.
Yeah, and you know, it gets well used, and I'm taking people in it, and I don't, you know, a lot of my friends and people that I know that have the LT, they go through the carousel and they take it around the outside, and I can definitely understand why. And I just at one point made a decision, okay, I'm going to use it and I'm going to drive it through the carousel. I'm going to let it bottom out at Tiergarten. I'm going to let it bottom out at Flansgarten. When you hit the brakes, you're going to let it do these things. And when you lift that orange car up, you see it. You know, you can see the bottom of it right now. It's actually at Door Group. They're redoing the carbon under trays. They're fixing the splitter. Unfortunately, that was something I didn't want to do, but we were somewhat forced to due to some other repairs that we had to do.
The plaster, the iconic plaster that you...
Yeah, the plaster. We may maybe put a fake plaster back on it. We'll see. I'll pose a little bit. It's getting its third windshield. You know, it's on its second motor. All these things that are going on with it, and I had to stop and think, okay, here I am. We want to do over 20 track days in 2018. If we want to do 20 track days on the Nordschleife, the last one in that car did 40 laps. That's a heavy toll for any car, really, you know. And so I thought, I'm not going to take a P15 and just put it in the garage. That's something that I don't have any desire to do. So if I get it, I'm going to drive it. And I'm going to drive it hard, just like we do with the LT. And in a year, it's probably going to need repaint, which the LT is covered in foil, but these impacts at 250 kilometers an hour are
going through the compression.
They're going through the paint, you know, and are going through the clear foil. So the LT is getting a lot of parts repainted right now. So I thought, gosh, do I really want to worry about replacing the windshields in a 1.2 million euro hypercar? Do I want to be
base price?
Yeah. Do I want? I mean, if you look at the pictures of the car, so much of that car hangs out the front.
Yeah.
Think about all the places that we scrape in the LT. Look at how there's really not a lot hanging out in the front of an LT.
No.
Comparatively, and if you think that.
But actually, also another thing is, I didn't see. Well, maybe it was like only the introduction version. I didn't see any. What's it called?
Yeah. Oh no, I don't see that either. But I think you have to get really up close to it to see the netting. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, so I think that a car like that is not going to hold up as well as even the LT is. It's probably very well built, but I think that you're going to destroy it even more, cause more damage to what a lot of people are going to.
Another just a big important disclaimer, because obviously our channel is focused on Nürburgring.
Yes.
But not many people are fortunate enough to have ever driven the track, so they didn't understand the elevation changes, and they compare it to the GP tracks.
If you take your car to Silverstone or Monza or something like that, you're just fine.
Yeah.
You know, you go out there, have some fun with it. You're going to wear through some tires. You're going to wear through some brake pads and possibly rotors if you do it a lot. But you're not going to be dealing with this, you know, with as much compressions and scraping and, you know, getting the wheels off the ground and bringing them back down with impacts and stuff like that. And so, like I said, I don't know. At the end of the day, I don't want to destroy a car like that on the racetrack. And since I'm not into really collecting a car, I think that I would rather have a race car.
I think that's actually a very good point, because, well, I'm pretty sure those cars are going to be very desirable. You could have had an option to flip it.
Right. You know, nobody knows it yet, but I think that there's going to be an 18-month non-sales clause in the final purchase agreement. That's what we're thinking is going to be. But yes, I could have taken that car. I could have stuck it in the corner and put it under a car cover and sold it in 18 months with undoubtedly a good resale that could have easily bought one of these or possibly both of these. Yeah. You know, but.
And that one.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a P1 Spider.
That's a P1 Spider. It's a prototype.
There's not many of those.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you could offer Max €3 million for that, and he'd probably be like, no. What do you need money for?
Yeah. That's a very good point.
So I'm good.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I think it's just not a car for me, and I think that I could say, all right, well, we could get a GT3 car. And a real GT3 race car. Yeah. And you know, if you want to look at it from a financial side, you could say, okay, I could do other things with the difference of money. You could buy another car, street car. You could rebuild the 570 into a full track car, which is something that the more I look at it, it's a pretty car.
Absolutely.
And you know, I don't think anyone will argue with that. It's actually a really aggressive, cool looking car. I think it might be really neat to have a, what would you call it, maybe a 570 Club Sport or something along those lines. And have that sitting inside a GT3 car. And yeah, I think that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is something that would be very unique. We played with this thought already, like throughout the whole year, because we are probably the most bitching customers of the 570 or talking about aero. And again, this has to do something with the environment that we are using this car for, which is the Nürburgring, which is very demanding. And yeah, unfortunately.
If you look at what this car was built for, they intended for it to be playful and fun, and they did it. You know, the thing's an absolute blast if you're not trying to go fast on the Nordschleife. And but if you are trying to go fast on the Nordschleife,
you're not going to be going fast, actually. Yeah. And again, this is also something I can absolutely agree with, because before that, my first impression with this car was on the racetrack, and I'm like, why? This is so bad. And then I took it out on the Fuel Faction Tour, which went through Italy, through the mountain roads, through Stelvio Pass, and I'm like, holy shit, it's an amazing car. That's what's it built for. So, it's great. So with only those minor adjustments in terms of suspension, aerodynamics, mostly aerodynamics, I think it's going to be great. Yeah. So this is something we would definitely be happy to see, but alternative would be the 720.
Yeah, the alternative would be the 720, and you know, I think it's a great car. We had a lot of fun with it when we drove it, right? The technology that's in it, the aero's already there. You can feel the aero, but and it's an amazing looking car. Mm-hmm. I think that if I did it, I'd get Volcano Yellow, which would be really, really pretty with black.
With black.
Yeah, exactly.
Black and yellow.
I think it would look really sharp. But that would be a car that I would basically would get the roll cage or the roll hoop, as you call it,
just directly. In the back, you mean?
Yeah, it comes. That's an option from McLaren.
That's what you have in the LT as well.
The LT just has a bar, because with the roof scoop you couldn't get couldn't get the full hoop.
Yeah.
So you'd get in the 720 you'd get the roll hoop, the 6-point harnesses. You'd put the seats in it right away, and that would basically be your car. You'd switch over, you know, make sure you have a Trofeo R tire on it, and that would basically be your car. You'd be done. This will have more character when it's done.
True.
This will have more character. The 720 will be absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
And in a straight line, definitely quicker. Depending on how good the aero worked out, maybe not faster on the racetrack. I don't know. We have to see how well we can actually build the aerodynamics on the car.
Yeah. And also, another thing what we could also talk about is this car is probably at the end of its life cycle, right? So they're not going to produce something, I don't know, well, there's the GT4 version, but it's not going to be something special.
Right. Well, this right here will get the 600 LT, or
is it going to be like, okay.
There's going to be one of those cars. They are going to build that. It's not going to come out this year, but that's going to happen. Okay,
well, this is something I wanted to refer to, because 720 is probably going to get the LT version.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
And that's definitely a car that we'll have. Without a doubt, we'll have that car, because as much as I've enjoyed the two LTs, the 720 or 760 LT or whatever you want to call it is going to be, I think, the car to have.
Yeah. And what I want to refer to, it's going to be pretty much impossible to come near close to the same level what the 720 LT might be by trying to replicate it.
Think about it. You have the P15. It has the same motor as the 720.
Yeah.
Okay. The 720, when you put it on the dyno, makes almost 800 horsepower.
800 and like even more.
Yeah. So if the P15 makes 800 horsepower, they basically have just bolted the same motor in the car. You know what I mean? And they'll tell you, oh, we've blueprinted it, we fine-tuned it, we've done things like that. But I think it's about the same motor. So if you then take the 720 LT or the 760 LT or whatever the numbers are going to end up being, and you lighten it up, you put more aero on it, you put all this, I think you're going to have a car that's not going to be that far off from what the P15 is doing for half the price.
Yeah, that's a food for thought. That's a very good food for thought. Yeah, well, we've been talking already about the P15 and everything.
We were talking about the cars that we weren't going to talk about.
Yeah. There we go again.
I think something interesting is if we want to continue talking about McLaren, where's their test driver now?
Well, this is the so far unreleased information.
No, it's out now. It is out now. Yeah, it's out now. So Chris Goodwin has gone to Aston Martin, which is really interesting, because I think that he's the development driver. He's the one that has set up this car. He's the one that set up the 720 with a ton of feedback and a ton of input as to how to make these cars what they are.
Yeah. Did he start also on the MP412C program? Was he involved in that?
I don't know about that. I have to find out. Yeah.
Because in that case, he would be responsible for every modern
McLaren. I think that he is really responsible for just about every modern McLaren, and the P15 for sure, and the 600 LT, the LT version of the 570 as well. But now he's gone to Aston Martin, which says a lot about what Aston Martin wants to do.
Yeah.
You know, their goal is, I believe their goal is to bring out one new car every year for the next 7 years, and they're all going to be not their old boring GT with a slush, you know, big old heavy clunky gearbox in it. They want to bring out cars that are going to be competing. They've really themselves targeted the 488. They want to bring out a mid-engine V6 car that will compete with the 488, which sounds to me a lot like the Ford GT.
Yeah.
You know, if you put nice lightweight chassis with a turbocharged V6, they want to bring something out that's going in that direction. And if you look at some of their current race cars and you look at what they're investing in, this mid-engine and this supercar, hypercar technology even, right? You're going to end up, I think, with some cars that, right now you have Lamborghini, you have McLaren, you have Ferrari. Those are the three that are building Performante, Speciale, the 488 Speciale version, which will be coming out in the next year. And then you have the LTs, and now you're going to have Aston Martin coming into this. And I'm really excited to see what those are like, because that might give us something really to get after, because they want to step up their game. They want to bring something to the racing community, and I think they're going to be really inclined to put that into their road cars as well.
No, exactly. Yeah, Aston Martin is actually doing what McLaren started doing, like what, well, 8 years ago, when they started with MP412C. Before that, everyone knew them from the F1 program and obviously the F1, but it was quite quiet, if I may use this pun. And ever since, look at all these amazing things, and we've been talking for like already over 50 minutes about all the projects, and that's what Aston Martin is going to do now as well, because they have the Vanquish, they're using the AMG engines, the Valkyrie is coming out, they introduced the, well, they won the Le Mans with their old chassis last year, or actually this year, the 2017. They're going to use the Vanquish for the Le Mans 24 for next year. They got the test driver of McLaren, who made the brand what it is, well, contributed.
I think he contributed. I mean, you know, obviously McLaren's engineers, their designers, they've done a lot, but he's had a huge hand in fine-tuning the cars to make them feel like what they feel.
Exactly. For people like us, if I may say so. Because you can, of course, without a doubt, you can put this car just on the wall and have it, because it's beautiful.
Exactly.
The design is probably, for me, most favorite cars, and it's not because me or Robert are a fanboy of McLaren, because like we said, P15 is actually, well, pretty ugly car, but it's functional. It's starting to grow on me, but yeah, it's not a fanboying, but this particular car is amazing. So again, yeah, designers did a very nice job, but to actually drive this car and experience it the way you're supposed to be, that was his part of the cake. Speaking of the F1 that came up, McLaren opened the service center.
Yeah, I think it's been around for a little while. I mean, we were talking about that a little while ago, how amazing it is that they're still servicing a car that's pushing 26, 27 years old. Obviously, if you charge that much for it, they require yearly maintenance even if they're not being driven.
Yeah.
So these owners have to protect their investment, which most of those cars are investments. I don't think there's too many people that own it and don't look at it.
Apart from Rowan Atkinson, but...
You know, but currently. But I think that's a car that you need to maintain. But it's really cool to think that McLaren is essentially supporting a backyard warehouse in the middle of nowhere that nobody knows about to support their, I guess, flagship car, if you would, or I mean, it still is the top car that they've ever built. You know.
Absolutely.
So it's pretty neat. If you guys should check that out, read up a little bit on it. But it's a really cool workshop. They have one technician that was trained specifically on the F1, its maintenance, and so on and so forth. And they talk about the detail that you have to work on in that car, and the frame of mind that you have to be in. Everything has to be out of your mind and shut off, and you can only focus on working
with an old laptop.
What's actually funny is I heard about this a couple years ago. Like, oh, you know, these laptops are in high demand because McLaren needs them to work on the F1. I'm like, that's a bunch of... There's no way that a company like McLaren can't get the software mirrored onto a modern computer, and that's exactly what they've done. They've got a clone or whatever you want to call it running that software, but they still have them for backup or for nostalgia purposes. It looks cool sitting there next to the car, you know. But that is pretty neat to have that dedicated computer for the car.
Let's move to the backside of the cars, because I've been like probably boring people with the front shots of the car so far. What else has been in the news? Speaking of hypercars, the Chiron is almost sold out. They sold like, what, 300 out of 500?
300 out of 500. I think that's not too bad, because we saw it first when, well, you saw it before I did. I think you saw it in, what, December in Russia?
Yeah.
And then I saw it.
Well, I saw it in Geneva last year, but there was like a Geneva press car, but...
So in 2016?
Yeah.
Yeah. I first saw it in 17 at Geneva, and I think that's a pretty cool car. I don't think it's a car that I would ever be interested in having.
Too much of a Grand Tour, not track spec?
Yeah, I think it's too much of a Grand Tour, and I don't know.
It's not your thing, obviously, if you look at those cars.
It's not my thing. I mean, sure, one of those cars costs more than all these combined, but I think a Chiron is a car that you drive to be seen. That's true. You know, and not to be, you don't drive it to enjoy it the same way that you do maybe the Speciale. The Chiron is going to get a lot more attention because of what it is, and when you go to take it on the track, it's not going to perform the same way. So I think it depends on what you want to do with the car, but I think a Chiron is something that you have to look at, to drive, to enjoy, maybe like I said, more on the road or something along those lines, and that's not really my preference, I guess. Yeah. Would you consider getting a hypercar, track-oriented? I considered getting the P15, and I mean, if you want to talk about, I mean, that falls into the McLaren's Ultimate Series, so that is their hypercar series, and I think that's the most track-oriented car that McLaren has made to date, but it's still not a race car. Yeah. So I would say at the moment, probably not. Okay. What other cars do you have that you would get? So you have the P15, and then you go to the Valkyrie, or you go to those cars. Koenigsegg, but Bugatti, I just still don't think of the. Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to look more at the Koenigsegg. They've done a very impressive top speed record. Amazing, yeah, amazing top speed record. But I don't know if there's still the same problem that you're just going to go out there and want to do lap after lap, and you're going to destroy the car. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, something we'll have to see. Yeah, you'd have to see and go from there. I mean, I think really the direction that I'm most excited about is going with a GT3 race car, and at the moment trying to figure out what car that would be. I don't know. Because nowadays you have actually a lot of more choice. You do have a lot of choice. I mean, what do you have? You could start with a BMW M6 GT3. Yeah. Not if you want to talk about GT3 cars, competitive cars, that's probably the cheapest. AMG GT3. Yeah, that I think is an amazing car. So that's what I was getting ready to go to next. Okay. Is you go the BMW M6 GT3, the AMG GT3, which when we go to the 24-hour race or the VLN and you see those cars out there, I think they sound amazing, they look amazing, there's everything cool about them. Then you have the 650 GT3, which a lot of my buddies that I speak with online in different groups, they tell me, man, you really should look into this. It's a good car, it's a reliable car, it's a sorted out car. Parts are you're able to get, but at the same time, I'm not racing. So I really hope I'm not breaking and busting fenders and doing all these things. I want a car that excites me and a car that I jump in and is maybe a little bit more modern, I guess. That was one thing that led me then to think about a 720 GT3. But again, in news, McLaren decided that no other manufacturer builds their own race cars in-house. They have race shops that build their cars for them. And McLaren decided that for the 720, they're going to build it in-house. Okay. So McLaren wants on their own assembly line to build their own race cars. And that's something that is, for a lot of race teams, has raised a big question mark. Will they be building a competitive, reliable car from day one? Yeah. That's the question. Competitive, reliable is also another question that's regarding like the running costs of a car, for example. If we compare the Cayman GT4, which was the first GT4 Cup spec car, and for that reason very popular. Now you have a lot more. You have the M4 GT4, you have the AMG GT4, you have the R8 GT4. So the 570 GT4? The 570 GT4 as well. And a lot of people said, okay, well, we're done with the Porsche, we're going to move on to the AMG or something. But the problem is, for example, the front splitter of the Cayman GT4 costs 180 euros. And of AMG, it costs 2,500 euros because it's basically the same part as a GT3 car. And then all the people
kind of like thought, okay, we're kind of like rubbing up.
Exactly.
And, rubbing is racing, so maybe we're gonna stay with the Cayman. And the same reasoning applies to McLaren. Are they gonna be like, okay, well, our client's just gonna throw a lot of money at it,
right.
or are they gonna be wise and let us not make everything fancy carbon fiber and whatever whatnot, but just keep it plastic for the purpose of convenience?
And that's why if you look at this car, there's no carbon fiber on it.
Yeah.
The 570 has no carbon fiber because I didn't want to deal with it. If we did something like this and we need to cut a little notch right here to get the wing in, then I want to be able to cut a notch in. I don't want to worry about it. And that's a big part of the race cars, you know, not having everything carbon fiber and front splitters and front lips and all that stuff. But so that goes back to the AMG. I really would like a mid-engine. I really would like a mid-engine car. And if we're not sure that the 720 is going to be the car in the first year, it certainly will be in the second year. The 488 GT3 is just expensive. It's one of the most expensive ones we're talking about right now.
Yeah.
It's the most expensive operating costs. And for, you know, going out and just doing...
What about the challenge car, or is it...
Well, the challenge car is something I'm definitely interested in. There's actually one coming in that I could get around May through Frankfurt. And that's something interesting, but again, the challenge car has less downforce, it's more of a mix between a road car and a track car. So it depends on to what level you want to take it.
Yeah.
Then the next thing you have is the Super Trofeo. The Huracan Super Trofeo. They sound amazing. Pops, bangs, gives you all the emotion, the naturally aspirated V10.
Very good mechanical grip with the wide tires.
It's the only one of these cars that we're talking about right now that still has a naturally aspirated motor in it. And that could be very interesting. My understanding is that, like around Monza, for example, the Super Trofeo is as fast as a GT3 car. Obviously, it's got power. I think 620 horsepower, which the GT3 cars are brought down in the 500 range, depending on the car and the build. But you know, maybe a Super Trofeo Huracan would be interesting.
Maybe.
Yeah. So that's something I'm really interested in because they're not terribly expensive. And I don't know if you've seen the Evo. You need to check out the Evo car. It is really cool. Yeah. It's got a little shark fin on the back. It's got a little roof scoop up on the top. Yeah. It's really, really a neat car. So that could be something interesting as well to look at.
Would be nice.
Yeah.
Would be nice. And that was our topic of racing. Is there anything else we want to discuss?
Well, I mean, the nice thing about that would give you some love back to Lamborghini.
Yeah, I'd love to. Let's wait for the... speaking of Lamborghini and the Urus.
Yeah, it's kind of cool car, huh?
It's... Okay, not trying to suddenly to kiss Lamborghini's ass after everything that I've done. I'm sorry. But actually, Urus is probably the only SUV of this segment that I actually like, because you have the Bentley, which is the same platform as a Lamborghini.
It's a classy car, but yeah.
It's classy, but you don't have something that is that extreme. Because if I would look at the Bentley, I would if I want to have something classy, I would just go for a Panamera, especially the new one. It's basically the same, again, the same model. It's also a newer car, but the Urus is something like really, it says like, hey, sup, I'm here, let's go clubbing.
Let's go clubbing. He's so Russian.
Well, yeah, I am. I really like it, and I really hope that they can actually do something on the Nürburgring as well, and I'll be there to watch them.
Yeah, I think it'd be pretty cool. I think it's a neat car. And I think it starts around 200,000 euro, which is pretty reasonable. I say reasonable, gosh, you can almost spec like a SQ7 to get to that price.
Absolutely. No. Honestly, I was really expecting when I heard Lamborghini was going to release an SUV, I was thinking it would be north of 300,000 euros before tax, maybe even. Right. Because this is a Lamborghini, it needs to be expensive. But actually, they're trying to do completely something opposite. Because the reason why they have V8, a 4-liter V8, and not a V12 or something outrageous like a Lamborghini usually is because they want to focus on the market in China, where the taxes are actually very bad. If you think that taxes are bad, like in Norway or Holland, in China, Aventador costs like close to €1 million. Euros. It doesn't make sense because of like above 4 liters or above a certain displacement, they're going to put extra taxes and the luxury tax and tax. So it's a good move of them, and yeah, I wish them all the luck. And I'm pretty certain there's going to be a lot of special one-off editions of the Urus as well.
Of course, it's Lamborghini.
It's a Lamborghini, yeah. Actually, it's going to be interesting to see some kind of like those freak one-off creations like with the Van Nano, like the 3 cars. Imagine something crazy as from Lamborghini on SUV base. That would be actually pretty cool. Yeah. And then we're going to think about our next topic or just end this video here on a half an hour mark. What are you doing for Christmas?
Nothing. We're just hanging out. We're gonna just hang out around the house. We're gonna relax, spend time with family, and then right after Christmas we're gonna come up to Apex and spend a couple nights there. But yeah, mostly just take it easy. Been going every single day for the last year, so I'm ready for a little break, and I think the family is too, for a little take it easy time, read some books with the kids, you know, that kind of stuff.
That's pretty cool. I'm going to Manchester, in case there are some people from Manchester. Like
for New Year's though.
Yeah, New Year's. Yeah, for New Year's, going to Manchester. So if there's anyone there, then let me know, because I'm going there with Diana's friends, and I'm like, I don't know anyone. Hello? So, yeah, there's that. I think we can actually finish this video here.
Yeah, I think that's most everything.
We talked about everything we want to talk about and what we didn't want to talk about, and a lot of people said after our 50-minute video they enjoyed it a lot, although it was 50 minutes, because you actually don't need to watch it. A lot of people suggested we should start podcasts.
Ooh, we should start a podcast, huh?
Yeah, it's a cool thing, but unfortunately none of us have like time for a new concept.
Or I'd have to learn how to do a podcast, I don't know.
Yeah. It's just like, well, it's basically what we're doing now. It's just like there's no video involving people, just you listen to it because it's something cool. So again, you can just watch this video, put it on play. Actually, a lot of people do it from my audience. They say they just like, when they're going to do the dishes after dinner, they put it on the background and just listen what I have to say. And if I say something interesting, they're going to go and watch it. So that's cool. That's a way to do it. Thank you very much. Yeah, again, the most important messages because it's the first time we did this in this environment instead of we might be doing it more often
if you guys like it.
If you guys like it, so let us know in the comments and below. I might even do a poll or something.
I think something cool maybe is if you guys have some topics that we could talk about
for next year. We could do the weekly thing actually.
Yeah, we spoke about things that we found interesting from the last couple of weeks and things that we know that were in the news right now and how it pertains possibly to Apex or something like that. So maybe we sit down and do that.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, we appreciate your involvement. We really like it. So let us know. And Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. We should have worn our like Christmas hats or something. Yeah, me neither. I only have my Porsche hats. Yeah.
See the two, we have them set up with Christmas colors.
Yeah. Well, we have that.
We'll just go like that. There, now you don't see it.
Oh, because the green and the red. Yeah. No, I understand. Okay, I'm just thinking we need to finish this video because I want to go back to my drinking.
Guys, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
You're a very good
Enjoy.